Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. And if you're new to my channel, I'm Patty, and on Saturdays we do budget-friendly home decor. Today we are making some fall DIYs I think you're really going to enjoy. So if you want to know how to make them, stick around, show you how. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Right, next one. Okay, for this next one, we're just going to use a pool noodle, and I'm going to cut them at 1 7/8. I'm using some yarn from Lion Brand, and it's called Go for Faux. Okay, and for each one of these, we're going to make a pumpkin, and we are going to measure out 3.5 yards of this yarn. And that's all you're going to need for each one of these little pumpkins. And we're going to start by gluing this on the inside, let that dry, and then we're going to use a little hair tool to run this through the pumpkin several times. You're just going to put it right at the end on the tail and then just start running it through. This was the easiest way to thread this through. And you want to try to get it as close to each other as you can because you do want your pumpkin to be pretty full. And this is just going to be a neutral colored pumpkin. I just thought it was really cute with the little furry fabric or the furry yarn. And these really don't take that long to do, and they're very, very budget friendly, so you could give these to all your friends. But just try to get your yarn as close to each other as you can. You don't want to see any of the pumpkin through it. Okay, then once you get to the very end, you're just going to go ahead and pull it through. It's going to be a little bit tighter right there, but go ahead and pull that through, and then we're just going to cut that off at the top. Next, I got this bag of little wooden stems, and you get those on Amazon. I'll give you the link for them. They're pretty long, and I'm just going to just twist it, put it right down into the center. And then I'm going to cut one of the smaller or two of the smaller little leaf patterns out with some brown felt to attach it to my pumpkin. And I'm just using a thin brown felt. And I'm cutting mine out together so that they match. I'm going to take some of that same floral wire, and then I'm just going to go about 12 times around on each side, leaving a gap in between. Then I'm just going to wrap this around my stem. And then I didn't do it enough. I didn't cut it enough, so I ended up having to kind of accordion it out a little bit and kind of squeeze it around there. But they don't have to be perfect. Just kind of do it however you want to. Okay, then I'm going to use some of that same Tim Holtz distressing ink just to kind of distress the edges of it. This is the walnut stain color. It just gives a little bit of depth, and it makes it not look so solid brown. Next, I'm just going to attach these with some hot glue right here. And then I'm going to kind of overlap this one with the other one right in front. Okay, then just to finish it out, I'm just going to take a piece of brown jute and I'm just going to tie a bow right around the very front. Now you could use any of the furry yarn with this. I think even the white ones would be pretty with this. All right, that was pretty much it. That was pretty simple. Look how cute that is. This next one, I'm using two of the little Dollar Tree palettes, and I'm going to use some wood glue, and I'm going to attach these back to back. So you're going to put the two pieces that are exactly like it back to back. And just line them up real good, and you don't have to clamp them, but you do want to make sure that they are straight. So spend a little bit of time on this part just to make sure you are getting them pretty straight. Look at them several ways. Okay, next I'm going to take two wooden little rounds. These are just little flat rounds of wood, and I'm just going to paint these white. And I got these on Amazon. I'll give you the link for these. And you're just going to paint the front and the sides on both of these. Next, I got these little 1 1/4 inch driftwood rounds from the Dollar Tree, or you can use anything that's round that's a little bit smaller than the circle you just painted. And then we're going to paint these black, and I'm going to paint the sides and the front on these. Try to find something that has some depth in it like this. This is probably about 1/4 inch. You want it to kind of set up off of your other white piece. We're using these to make some eyes.
I'm going to take some whole wheat stain and I'm going to stain this crate and the pallets. Now I already got this last year. It's a 5x3. I have stained it already, but I'm going to stain it with this color stain so I can blend the pallet and the crate both together. And I think I ended up putting a couple layers on this because I did want it pretty dark. I'm going to stain the pallets exactly the same way. Now these would have probably been a little bit easier to stain when they're not glued together, but if you do stain them before you glue them together, just leave the back section where you're putting your glue unpainted or unstained so it will adhere better, because it does work better with the wood glue if you don't have your pieces already painted or stained. But you can get in here pretty easily. I did go back with a little paintbrush to kind of get inside the little grooves a little bit. Little paintbrush works really good for this, and this is a water-based stain, so you can just clean your brushes with some soap and water when you're done. Next, I distressed my palette and my crate, and I'll show you real quick how I did it. I just used some gray paint and a chip brush. I got out of the camera. The camera was off when I did this first, but you're just kind of lightly brushing your paint brush onto your paper towel to get most of the paint off, and then just brush it onto your crate and your palette. Make sure that they do blend, and you want to get the sides and everything on these. You're just dry brushing is what you're doing, and I did add quite a bit of paint to these. I am adding a little bit of the dry brush to my little white discs as well. This just kind of gave it a little bit more rustic look. Next, I'm going to glue the two together. I'm just going to line them up right here, just kind of lean it forward and then see where you need to get your glue. You just want to make sure that this stands up right into the back of your crate. And we are using wood glue on here. You can use hot glue if you'd rather. But you don't want to put so much that it goes through the little crate lines. You want to make sure that you don't see any of the glue. And then I am going to clamp these when I get done so this does stand straight up. You just want to make sure that it is standing straight up. Then I'm going to add a couple clamps just to hold it in place until it dries. Next, I'm taking some little joiner biscuits. These are the number 10. They come in a pretty good sized bag. They're great for crafting. I'll give you the link for these. I got them on Amazon. And I'm just going to paint these with a gray chalk paint. Okay, and we are making an owl. These are going to be his eyebrows up at the top. So if you don't want to buy some wood pieces like this, you can use some craft foam and just paint those as well. Just cut them into this shape. Next, we're just going to attach our little eyebrows to the top part of our crate. You want to kind of lift them up a little bit, kind of put your eye up there so you can kind of eyeball where you want them, and then glue them on. Now, I wish I had put mine a little bit higher up where they went up a little bit more, but you might want to just look at it a little bit with your eyes to see exactly where you want it. And then I'm just going to glue my eyes down just below it. And you want to make sure that you put them really close together because they look better that way. And then we're going to just attach our little black part right over the top part of those. His wings, I got these little driftwood pieces from Dollar Tree. You can get these on Amazon as well. And we're just going to glue these to the side, kind of sticking outward. And if you don't want to use these, the little bag of joiner biscuits that we use for the eyebrows, you could stack those up together and make them look like he has more feathers and things like that. If you don't want to use the little wood pieces I'm using here. And you could use craft foam, just cut it out into the shape of a wing. Okay, next I'm going to take some white paint. I'm just taking a paintbrush, the tip of it, and I'm just going to put a dot on each one of the eyes. For his beak, I'm just taking another one of those little joiner biscuits, and I'm just going to cut the tip of it off. And then I'm going to paint this orange. And then we're going to place it right between his two eyes. And I'm just painting these with Michael's brand Craft Smart paint in the color Spiced Orange. And then I just glued it right between his two eyes. Next, I'm taking some of this brown Excelsior that I got at Michael's. This is just a shaved wood. You can get it at the floral department in Michael's. And I'm just filling the front part of my crate up with this. A pretty good sized bag of this. This goes a long way. Next, I got this jar of fall potpourri from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to use some of the little pieces in it just to kind of represent the fall season. This one came with little flowers, it came with pine cones, it came with some little pumpkins in it, and some little seeds. Just kind of take a variety of things and just kind of put it in your crate, and just to kind of dress it up a little bit. And these smell really good, and you could use these on so many different craft projects, and they're on sale right now. Okay, I think that turned out so cute. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Okay, for this next one, I'm just going to take a wine bottle and I'm going to paint the entire thing with this matte river rock paint. Okay, we're making a scarecrow, and this is a scarecrow hat. And on that 1-inch piece right there, the little square, once you print your pattern, just make sure that that square still is 1 inch, and then you'll know you got your pattern cut out the right size. And I'm just going to use some just regular burlap for this. So just pin it on there and then just cut it out. It doesn't have to be perfect because it is a scarecrow's hat. The easiest way to cut out the center part is just to fold your pattern in half, and then you're just going to cut a half circle right here, and then you'll get it pretty straight. Next, I'm just going to draw a face on him. I'm just coming down probably about 1.5 inches from the top. Put your hat on there and kind of figure out exactly where you want to put it in there. And then just draw 2 big oval eyes. You want to make them big so he does stand out. And if it's not perfect, don't worry about it because he is just a scarecrow. And then I'm going to draw a little line, just kind of like he's got stitched together. And then I'm just going to draw like a little nose right here with rounded corners. And then for his mouth, I'm just going to kind of do like a little zigzag type mouth, just to kind of get it across there and then back up the other side. Then I'm just going to start painting him in, and I'm using a paintbrush that has like a rounded point on the front of it, on the top of it, and that way you can kind of get into the grooves a little bit without it being so hard. Just kind of curve around with it, and it makes it paint a little bit easier. And I'm going to paint both of my eyes in with this black. And it makes it easy if you turn the bottle while you're painting this instead of trying to move your wrist a different way. It just makes it a little bit smoother. And then I'm going to go back over my lines with just a fine paintbrush. Just a little straight, fine paintbrush. I'm not going to go back around the nose. I'm just going to go the 3 lines, and I'm going to go around the mouth.
Okay, then I'm going to add a few little stitches to the mouth. Just kind of put some little X's on it. And I'm putting several of these. For the nose, I'm just going to paint it with some Waverly chalk paint in the color Crimson. And you can go over the black part too. You don't have to have a major outline on this one. And to highlight the eyes, I'm taking a white paint pen and I'm just doing some little curves right around the outside edge. And then I'm going to put a little dot down in the very bottom. And then we're going to add just a little highlight to the top part of the nose. Then I started with a Sharpie to make a couple little stitch marks on his nose, but it wasn't showing up real good, so I am coming back in with a paintbrush and some black chalk paint, and then just drawing these in. And then I'm taking my white paint, going back over those lines I did with the paint marker, and just highlighting those a little bit darker. Next, I'm using one of the hula skirts from Dollar Tree. You can just use regular raffia. I'm just kind of combing it out a little bit, and then I'm just going to cut it off. This is going to be for his hair. I'm just attaching this right around the top part of the bottle. I just used about half of that one I just cut. Just going to glue it onto the top, and we're going to glue our hat on the top of it. We're going to add our hat over the top, and then just glue it in. And you want it overhanging the raffia a little bit. Next, I'm going to take some 5mm jute. I'm going to start at the top part of my bottle, and I'm going to start going all the way down until I cover up the raffia all the way down to the hat. And you can use a smaller jute if you want to. You just have to use a little bit more. But I'm just going to kind of spin it around the bottle. I'm going to kind of glue it in little sections until I have it all the way down to where the hat is, and then I'm going to cover all that up. This will just seal it all together. And then when you get to this point, you're going to start covering up the raffia and you're going to start covering up the edge of the hat. And then when you get to the end where you don't see any of the openings anymore, then just cut it off and glue it off into the back. We're going to just tilt the hat up just a little bit on the side and then just glue that up on top of that jute. Okay, next to decorate up the hat, I'm just going to use some leaves. I'm starting down at the bottom part of the hat, covering it up between the hair and the hat, and then just adding some different colors in here. And I think I got these leaves at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, one of the two last year. And then to finish it off, I'm just going to come in with a little acorn to put right in the center. All right, and that was pretty much it. I think he turned out super cute. Let me know what you think. For this last one, I'm using one of the pool floaties from Dollar Tree. This is one that goes up on your arm for a child. And right now they have these at the store because I just got this. And I'm going to cut about 1.5 inches off of it because it was a little bit tall. I'm making a pumpkin. And you can get those knives at the Dollar Tree as well. They cut pool noodles and everything like that really good. And you can save that part maybe to put a candle in the center of it. Next, I'm taking one of the Dollar Tree pool noodles, and then I ended up cutting that about 4.5 inches. And I'm going to cut my pool noodle at 6 inches. And then I'm going to cut a diagonal at the top because we're making a stem. Just kind of get it cut off pretty straight. And then I'm just going to tear a piece of this one off, and I'm just going to stick it right down inside just to cover up that opening. And then that's just going into the center for our stem. And I'm going to take this outside. I'm going to spray paint it with a rustic orange paint. You definitely want to spray paint it first. Next, after it's been painted, I'm going to take some of this wood filler and I'm just going to fill in all the little holes on the top of this. And this really didn't take that much filler. I just used a little bit. Just kind of get the holes filled in where the styrofoam is. And then it'll be nice and smooth once you get done with your project. Just kind of blend it in a little bit just to get all those holes sealed in. And you could use spackle on this as well. And you're going to let this dry. It'll turn a cream colored when it's completely dried. While that's drying, I'm going to take my stem outside and I'm going to spray paint it with a Rust-Oleum espresso paint. After that's dried, I'm going to take some chalk paint in just a gray color and a chip brush, and I'm going to dry brush this just to give it a little bit of depth. And I'm not using a lot on this, just a little bit, just to kind of give it a little separation in color. And you're going to do the top part as well. After that's dried, I'm going to take a little black paint and go over it. It's the same thing, but not quite as much. This will make it look a little bit more like a piece of wood. Okay, now that that's dried, I'm going to come back in with some paint. I'm just using a spiced orange paint and a sponge brush, and I'm going to paint the entire thing. Now, you could have just painted this with some primer if you wanted to, but you definitely want to spray paint this whole thing first. Otherwise, it'll take too much paint, and I tried it first. I couldn't get the paint smooth. It just was making a mess. So you definitely want to spray paint this first. And I'm going to paint the top part of this, and then I'm going to blend in the sides as well. Next, I'm going to take some brown paint and a chip brush, and I'm going to dry brush the sides and the top. This just gives a little bit more realistic look because it has a little bit extra color in it. Just kind of blend it in a little bit. You don't have to put a lot, just kind of dry brush it on there. And then I'm just going to add my stem right to the center. And next to decorate it up, I've got these little leaves. I'll give you the pattern for those in the description below, and I'm just going to glue these right on top, one on each side. And I'm just using just regular felt with these.
Next, I'm just going to start decorating it up. I'm just going to put a couple of little pine cones right here in the front part. And then I'm taking some of the Dollar Tree fall ribbon. I'm just going to make a little bow. I'm just going to come right around here and then bring the other side right over the top part there, and then have a little tail coming off the back part. And I'm just going to kind of cut it short. And then I'm going to cut a little strip to go in the center to hold this whole bow together. probably about a 1.5-inch strip. And then I'm going to take my bow and I'm going to go ahead and get it put together, kind of squeeze it out there. And then I'm going to tuck that up over the top part there and then down on the front. And I'm going to pull my 2 little legs of the bow down. And then I'm just going to take my other piece. I'm going to hem up both sides of it. I should have done this before I had my bow in my hand. And this is what's going to wrap around the very front part of the bow just to hold it all together. And then I'm just going to glue it off into the back just to hold the bow all completely together. And I'm just going to attach this on the side opposite of the pine cones. Just kind of fluff your bow up a little bit. Just going to add a little textures to it. I got these at Hobby Lobby. They come on a stem with several of them on there. And then some of these things come in the same little potpourri container that I just used on the owl. So that really is a good buy if you pick up one of those, because you have a lot of different textures and different things inside of that container that you can really use on all your craft projects during the fall. And then I'm just going to finish it off by attaching 2 of these little colorful nuts right on the top of the bow. All right, that was pretty much it. I think this turned out super cute. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope this video gave you some inspiration today. Be sure and come back. I've got a lot of fall coming up in the next month. If you like these kind of videos, be sure and give me a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when I have a new video upload. Thank y'all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. See you next time. Thanks for watching.